Hi everyone. In this video, we want to look at VLOOKUP with duplicate values. We've had this problem for a really long time. Whether you use a exact, approximate, a simple or an advanced VLOOKUP, or whether you use XLOOKUP, index match, we have never really had the capability of getting duplicate values if the same item is coming multiple times. For example, if one customer ID has made multiple purchases, the only option we have had is to create a pivot table. And that breaks the workflow because that's not really what you want to do. You want to be able to write a formula that will give you the result. So we are working with a data set here. I have a list of customers in column B and the corresponding sales value in column C. And then in F4, we have the name of the customer, which has been given as a dropdown. Let me remove that and create the dropdown one more time. So we can simply write equal to unique of the entire column B. Now that gives us two values that we don't need. One is the 0, that is for the null value, and the other is the header, that is the name. So we can simply say drop and then a 2, and that will drop the first two values. Once this is done, we can select F4, and on data, we click on data validation. We will enter a list of values, and in the source, we can simply write equal to I4 followed by a hash. Since this is a dynamic array function, if you want to select all the values, we can simply put in a hash. And as you can see, we have all the names that appear here. I'm also changing the color to green like this. Will it work if we add another name? Absolutely. So if I add my own name here, you will notice that that name also gets added in the drop-down list. Now, if I select Darren Powers, we can see that Darren has had multiple transactions. And if you would like to highlight this with the conditional formatting, we can select all the names, go to home, select conditional formatting, highlight cell rules, and then equal to F4. So whichever name has been selected in F4, the same names would get highlighted in column B as well. If I change the name, you notice that the selection in column B changes as well. Now you can clearly see that there are 4 instances where Darren Powers has made a transaction. So we have 985, 423, 471, and 928. And VLOOKUP is only going to give you the very first value, which is 985. And XLOOKUP also can do the same thing, only give you 985. What we want to do here is to first do it manually to get a sense of the process. So I apply a filter on column B and C, and then we select Darren Powers, and you notice that we only have 4 values that remain here. And this is essentially what we want to recreate using a formula. That means that we want to get the values from column C when we're applying an inclusion criteria. So we want to include from column B only Darren Powers and get the values from column C. So we call this a filter, and we want to filter column C, and we want to include only those values where column B is equal to F4, that would be Darren Powers. And you can see that we get 4 values like this. But what about the serial number? It would be nice if the numbers also came automatically. So we can simply put in a sequence, and the number of numbers that we want would be nothing but a count of column F And since we only have 4 numbers in column F, we are going to get a serial number from 1 to 4. If I select Philina, we get 3. If I select Chris, we get 2. And if we select David, we get 2 as well. So let's go back to Darren like this. Now, this is great if you want to see the results for one customer at a time. But what if you want to see this for all the customers? Let me create a second sheet. I'll just copy the same one. And first, we will do a drop unique of column B and a 2. That gives us all the unique names that we have. And in this, we want to do a filter. In the filter, we want to select column C, where column B is equal to F5 hash. Now, that doesn't work because the way the filter function works is that you can only give it one value. So I have to give it an F5 only, and then copy and paste the formula down. So we get 985, 423, 471, and 928. Once this happens, we would also like to transpose it like this, and then finally apply a text join with the delimiter as a comma followed by a space. And this way, the result comes like this. So this is a very clean, compact way of looking at the data because you have summarized the result. And even pivot tables can't really do this. What we are doing here is to get all the transactions for Darren Powers in a single cell. And you will notice that if Darren Powers has one more transaction, I'm just adding that at the bottom, you will see that the number gets added automatically. Now, what if you also would like to make the data sorted? Right now, the transactions are coming in the order of the date on which they happened. So we have a 985, 423, 471, and a 928. I can also apply a sort here, which means that the moment we apply the filter, I will apply a sort at the same time. And we can put in a -1 for descending. And now you notice that the results come in a descending order. We can now simply copy it down. Let me also take a screenshot of the formula. So this is how it looks. Let us take a screenshot of the previous one as well. There you go. Now, what if you also want to see the sum of all these transactions? To do that, we can simply write in a sum if. So I'm going to put in a sum if where the range is column B. The criteria is F5 hash. Here, the hash will work with a dynamic array. And the sum range is column C. And the result comes like this. Now, even though this will solve most of your needs, sometimes you might get the result in a comma or some other delimited value as a separator, and you might still want to add up all the numbers. To do that, we can simply say text split, and then we say that we want to split everything by the delimiter, which in this case is a comma followed by a space. So you get the result like this. And now if you simply do a sum along with the transpose, okay, that doesn't work. Let me try that one more time. Since we are working with 985, 928, 471, and 423 as a string, we also want to convert it into a number. So we will also have to use a value here. And you can see that we get the same result. I will also copy the formula so that you can see both of these next to each other. So there you go. We are able to see a list of all the transactions for each one of these unique customers. And then I'm also able to get the sum using both a SUMIF and also using a sum with a text split. So this is how the previous formula looks. With the SUMIF. There are several use cases to learning how to use filter. Of course, you can have multiple conditions in the filter as well. But then let us say you're working in HR and you want to prepare a list of the past experiences of the employees, or maybe a list of the trainings that people have already attended. Or maybe in finance, you want to create a list of all the GL codes that can be attributed to a vendor. So this is a very smart way of being able to do that.